So, Netflix just dropped its playbook for the future, and let me tell you, it is about so much more than just adding new shows. We're talking about a full-on strategy to become a core part of our daily lives. We're going to break down their entire shareholder letter to show you exactly how they plan to achieve total entertainment domination. Let's jump right in.
All right, first up, let's just wrap our heads around the scale we're talking about here. In 2025, Netflix pulled in a staggering $45.2 billion in revenue. To put that in perspective, that's more than a lot of the classic Hollywood studios combined. This isn't just some number on a page. It's the financial engine that's going to power every single move they make next.
And where does all that money come from? Well, it comes from this number, $325 million. By the end of 2025, Netflix had built a global paid audience that's bigger than the entire population of the United States. This direct line to hundreds of millions of people, that right there is their secret weapon.
Okay, so those big, flashy numbers are awesome, but they're built on something even more important, rock-solid financial health. So let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine room of the empire to see how their 2025 really stacked up. So if you look at the numbers here, you can see everything's heading in the right direction. Revenue, up a healthy 16%. Their profitability, which is that operating margin line, just keeps climbing. But the number that really jumps out at me is the free cash flow, up a massive 38%. That's their war chest. It's the cash they can use to fund crazy new shows, build a gaming division, or, maybe even buy a competitor or two. But get this, 325 million memberships, that's just scratching the surface. Once you factor in all the people sharing accounts, Netflix figures its actual audience is closer to 1 billion people. That's the real ambition here, to be the go-to source of entertainment for a massive chunk of the entire planet.
So you've got 1 billion people watching. How in the world do you keep them all engaged? Well, it all boils down to the content. This is their strategy for grabbing our attention and not letting go, one binge watch at a time.
And their content strategy is absolutely firing on all cylinders. I mean, just look at these numbers from the last quarter of 2025. The final season of Stranger Things pulled in 120 million views. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, over 100 million. They're not just making TV shows anymore, they're literally engineering global cultural events. But here's where things get really interesting. Tucked away in their letter is this one critical little sentence. Not all viewing is created equal. This is a huge clue that their strategy is shifting away from just getting you to watch towards building something way more valuable. And that something has a name, fandom. See, it's not enough for you to just watch a show anymore. They want you to love it. They want you to talk about it, tweet about it, buy the t-shirt. Why? Because passionate fans don't cancel their subscriptions. They become walking, talking billboards for the service. This is the heart of how they plan to keep you around forever.
Now, to build that kind of fandom, you can't just stay on the TV screen. You've got to expand the whole universe. And boy, are they expanding. A huge piece of that puzzle is advertising. For years, Netflix was practically allergic to ads. But now, they are all in. And the growth is just explosive. They're projecting it to hit nearly $3 billion in 2026. This lets them offer cheaper plans, which brings in a whole new group of people who couldn't afford it before. Then there's the big push into live events. We're talking sports, like boxing and the NFL. This is that classic can't-miss TV that gets everyone talking at the same time. It creates an urgency that you just don't get with a show you can watch anytime. And they're not stopping there. They're coming for your ears, too, with video podcasts. By signing huge names like Pete Davidson and Michael Irvin, they're trying to pull in that massive podcast audience and make listening to your favorite shows a part of your daily Netflix habit.
And then there's gaming. They're going way beyond simple mobile games now and into cloud streaming right on your TV. But the real bombshell? The announcement of a reimagined FIFA simulation game for 2026. I mean, think about that. They're not just dipping their toes in the water, they're going after one of the biggest gaming franchises on the planet. That is a serious power play.
Okay, so advertising, live sports, gaming, these are all big moves, huge even, but they are nothing compared to the one single earth-shattering move they've been planning to slam the accelerator to the floor.
So the question they basically asked themselves was, how do we pour gasoline on this fire? How do we take all this momentum and kick it into hyperdrive? You do it by buying a legend. Netflix has announced a deal to acquire Warner Bros. Yeah, you heard that right, the whole thing. The iconic studios, the entire HBO network, and the HBO Max streaming service. This is a tectonic shift for the entire industry. And according to their letter, the logic here is actually pretty straightforward. It's a two-step plan. First, you instantly get your hands on one of the greatest content libraries ever made. We're talking Harry Potter, DC Comics, The Sopranos. The list is just endless. Second, you can take HBO and HBO Max and weave them into your own service, creating new subscription plans to give people more choice and lock them in for good.
So, with this absolute monster of a deal on the table, what does the future actually look like? Well, Netflix is feeling pretty good about it, and they laid out some seriously confident predictions for what's next. For 2026, they're forecasting revenue to blast past $51 billion. And here's the real kicker. Even while they're swallowing this huge company, they actually expect to get more profitable. That just shows how confident they are that this whole thing is going to work.
But you know what? This chart, this might be the most important slide of the whole deck. For all their success, for all the headlines, Netflix only has about 9% of our total TV time here in the US. Look at that. Old school cable and broadcast TV is still at 40%. So when Netflix looks at the market, they don't see a ceiling, they see a wide open frontier with so much room to grow.
And this all leads us to one final really big question. As these streaming giants swallow each other up and become these massive all-in-one entertainment empires, who's going to be telling the stories of tomorrow? The fight for our attention is really a fight for the future of culture itself. The Netflix empire is expanding, and believe me, this story is just getting started. Thanks for digging into this with me.